Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for the virtual program today, Building Young Professional Boards with Jannah Bailey. I'm Brittany Spillman, and I serve as the Cary Center Director of Community and Collegiate Programs. Before we begin, I would like to take a moment to thank this year's Community and Collegiate Program sponsors who have pledged to support our efforts in providing meaningful programming for the nonprofit sector. Thank you to the Auburn University Outreach, the Community Foundation of East Alabama, the United Way of Central Alabama, the River Region United Way, KPMG, Auburn University Outreach, Office of Public Service, the Drummond Thorne Stooks Fund for Excellence, and a community service grant made possible by State Senator Randy Price and State Representative Joe Glover. Jannah was born and raised in Montgomery, Alabama. She graduated in 1979 from Sidney Lanier High School and went on to earn her bachelor's in criminal justice from AUM with an emphasis in juvenile corrections. She is married to retired Montgomery Family Court Judge Bob Bailey. Jannah was the executive director of Child Protect, Children's Advocacy Center for 21 years before being named as the first woman president and CEO of the River Region United Way. Jannah, tell us about building young professional boards. You're muted.
I can do a lot of things, but I have not learned IT in my history and probably never will. So that's still one of my challenges. So I'm so excited to be here because building a young professional board is something that I have been very passionate about for about 15 years. And that kind of dates when we started thinking about this. But it still seems to be one of those projects or something that is still challenging to a lot of nonprofits, just finding the time and the know-how and carving out the energy, I guess, because you really get caught up in the day-to-day operations, putting out fires here and there, and adding another level of something that you have to supervise can be overwhelming. So first thing is that I always say, oh, and Brittany, by the way, I will get all of this to everybody. I'm sorry that I was a little bit delayed. Just, when you all understand the crisis that come before you, you have to work on right when it happens. So it's been kind of a crazy, hectic week. So anyway, but one of the things that we realized early on at Child Protect is that as we recruited board members for the executive board, people were aging out, or they were moving, or they were retiring and really didn't want to be committed to boards anymore. And we were losing that in between people that were not used to serving, and maybe they didn't grow up serving like the baby boomers did. So we were missing this big chunk in between. And we decided, you know what, we've got to get some young professionals that are energetic, that are engaged in the community, that have a fresh perspective on looking at what the needs are. So we started a young professional board at Child Protect, and how we went about doing it, and I will tell you this, is first off is listing things that you need that the executive board maybe is not willing to do. So what we did, we asked the young executives to come on, and we looked at different professionals. So we looked at accounting firms, maybe someone who just got their first job, that's been maybe at a company for 2 or 3 years, and they're just trying to figure out their role in their office. But at the same time, their office or their firm or whatever is encouraging them to be part of the community. And a lot of times these young people do not know where to plug in. Civic groups are great, but they're another entity, if you will, that's kind of old. That's the only way that I can say it, that, they tend not to invite people in. And when young people do go to the Rotary or to the Kiwanis, it's filled with people that may not look like them. So we looked at about 10 people in accounting, law firms, the media. We're fortunate that we have WSFA here, a very big TV station that has broad reach. And so we looked at that. I think I said attorneys in the medical field, entrepreneurs, people that were just getting started up in their fields. And we looked across that, and we actually had on our staff some young people that were already kind of knew these people, if that makes sense. So it's people that you may know. I have sons that are in their mid-30s. And so I really looked at some of their friends that I knew were still in the community that I called on. And then we had some young people on staff, like I said, that were friends with a lot of them. So we reached out and we said, hey, we want we want to start a young professionals board, and we want y'all to be the founders of that. And so that was very exciting. And here are the commitments. We also had to look at what their commitments are going to be a lot different than an executive board. So we looked at, all right, what are the commitments? In the first meetings, where do y'all see how this is going to run? And they said, we're just starting our careers. Many just are newlyweds, or they may have young children. So you have to take that into account. So what are the commitments? And they said, we really can't do stuff during lunch or breakfast, because we've got to get into our business. And that's when we're doing it, is, over a lunch meeting. So young professionals, they like wine and cheese or after hours and networking. And so that's what we started doing. We would do a once a month 5:30 meeting, either on a Tuesday or Thursday night. It was never set in stone. I think that's something too, that when you look at how old boards are set up, it's been, we meet Thursday at noon and it's never going to change. But being fluid with young people is very important. I see a lot of young people's faces on here as well. So I know all of you, I'm probably preaching to the choir. So we said, all right, when do y'all want to meet? So they said, we just want it to be very relaxed, wine and cheese. We want to network. We want to bring in people that we may know. And we said, that's great. So we started doing just wine and cheese after work. And they sat down and put together, and I will send that to you, the bylaws that Child Protect put together. And actually these young professionals, they wrote their own set of bylaws and what the commitment was going to be financially and with time and with events. We know too, so that was the time part of it. They wanted to be able to go somewhere after work for maybe an hour, hour and a half, and then go home. They didn't want anything, that was big and elaborate. So we did that. The second part was looking at what they could give back financially. And you have to remember, in the same thing about the time, is these are young professionals getting married, having young families, maybe buying their first home. They still have car payments. We all have car payments. I'll be paying a house payment for the rest of my life. But all of these things that come. And so when you're asking them for a financial commitment, it's going to look a lot different than your executive board, and rightly so. So what we did is we said, okay, we really want y'all to do some more, I don't want to say physical stuff, but more of planning the events and more of helping us set up the events, because I will tell you, they got some great ideas, and it is not antiquated. Let's all go and have a dinner and sit down and hear a really bad band and just, wham, wham, wham. They want to do fun things. So I'm going to tell you about the event, speaking of that, that was started at Child Protect. So they had this brainchild of an event called Shindig. And it started about I think this is the 10th year, either the 8th or 10th year. And they said, we want to do something where families can come, bring their kids. It's a free event, because they wanted everybody to be able to come, ask for a donation at the gate. We got food trucks to come in, and a band that donated their services. And I think the first year we made $5,000. So it was this free thing. It has grown so much. It's going to be at the Alabama Shakespeare Festival this Sunday, and everybody looks forward to it. The food vendors pay us $35 to come. So we really are not even trying to make money on the food trucks that come, and they're excited. We partnered with Little Donkey here, and they would bring the beer and the wine, which they sold. And then they had a specialty drink for the day, which was free. And so people bring their coolers and their snacks and their strollers and their blankets, and they hear music, and they're just sitting out there. And the young professionals are just there to say hey and network. And so, it doesn't have to be this big thing. But what we realized in this process is that, one, Child Protect was getting a lot of publicity among this different age group, people that maybe had never heard of Child Protect. So it doesn't really matter what the nonprofit is. It matters that you are reaching a population of people who are looking for something to do and somewhere to get plugged into. We also found, so we talked a little bit, and I know I talk fast, so please ask questions and as we continue on with this. So then it was, okay, so we've got them hooked in here, and we've got them coming to meetings, and we've got them with their event, and we've got them established. And then the third component of that was getting them more engaged with the day-to-day operation of what Child Protect does. And it sounds like we've kind of gone backwards with that, but the hook was, we want you to come in and feel good about this and be a spokesperson for Child Protect. But the third part is, okay, now we want you to come for an hour, come late in the afternoon and see what we really do. And at that point, they really were bought in hook, line, and sinker. It was like, okay, now I see. And I'm going to talk to my Sunday school class, or I'm going to talk to my office now. Maybe we can't be a $10,000 sponsor, but we certainly can collect cases of box drinks and chips and items that you may need that help with your overhead. I mean, think about just in your office, the amount of toilet paper and paper towels that you use, or folders or markers or copy paper, things that could really help your overhead that we don't think about, that would bring that down, where you could then use those funds for direct services. And I think that was, if we look at the three different things, that was something that they felt like they could do, and it really made a difference. So that's kind of how you get it started, and how you keep it going is you continue to let young people oversee it. When I was in the room, we had a little, there was a time when our development person, who was in her 30s, was overseeing the junior board, and then she left for another job. And so it was maybe 3-4 weeks before we replaced her. And I kind of oversaw it. I think it was in the middle of an event or something. And just me being in the room, because when they met, I was usually in my office. I could hear them cracking jokes and, talking about their weekend plans and all of that. And it's like a mother walking into the room, and it's like everybody gets quiet. They're sitting at sitting at the tables waiting for instructions. So it really, the people that oversee this need to be someone that's closer to their age, and they need to establish their own officers. And it really just needs to be run by them. I got to the United Way a year and a half ago, and fortunately, we have amazing young people. We have 4 young people that are professionals in the nonprofit world on our staff, and 2 of them have taken that ball, because United Way did not have a young professional board, and it's been wonderful. They meet every month at lunch, and they go to the different community agency partners that are part of United Way Network. And so they're not only learning about United Way and the importance, but they're also seeing frontline what these agencies are doing. And then that in and of itself is helping these nonprofits who don't have a junior board see how important it is. And so that's one of the things that we have done over the last year is go in and talk to some of the other nonprofits about building a junior board and how it's not like one of those things you can say, well, we don't really need it right now. We don't have the time. It is imperative. And if you look wherever everybody is from, I see, probably people from all over. When you look at how people are aging out, we have to change the way we think, the way we fundraise, and we have to get the millennials and under, we've got to get them engaged and we've got to get them compassionate. They don't give the same way. They don't act the same way. They want flexibility. They want ownership, and they want to know that they're really making a difference. So that's kind of the first part of it. So any comments or questions or anything as we move on?
Hey, Jannah.
Yes.
Try to get my camera to go. Let's see. There I am. Hello. So you were saying that you guys had the Shindig event. Is that something that's still going on?
Yes. And it's usually in August, but I think a couple of years ago, we realized that 127-degree heat was not the best for Montgomery, Alabama.
Right.
And we did it at this old home that was being renovated downtown, and it was great. We did it on the front lawn, but it kind of outgrew that. And so this year it's going to be out at Shakespeare, and we've moved it. I keep saying we, but they moved it to this Sunday afternoon. And it was kind of, at first me and my old lady self, I was like, in my head, I never spoke this out loud, but in my head, I was thinking, Sunday afternoon, why would anybody want to come out Sunday afternoon? And, what happened to a Friday night event and charging people $25 and, and all that? I see you shaking your head. Yeah. And I was like, this is not going to work. Who wants to do something on Sunday afternoon? That is when I'm in my soft clothes early and I'm anticipating the week and all that. But let me tell you, it's like Laurel that worked with me. She said, Sunday afternoon is when we are like, okay, it's the end of the weekend. What are we going to do tonight? What are we going to do Sunday afternoon? It's when we want kind of that last hurrah of the weekend. And I was like, okay, well, I'm open to anything. And that first year, the energy and the excitement, kids running around, and I think we had some balloon people there, and we asked vendors to come and sell their wares. So there was a little boutique there that had all her boutique stuff in the back of her trailer or whatever. And just, it was amazing. And she was, they were right. From 4 to 6, it's like, you've been to church, you've eaten lunch, kids have napped, and now what are we going to do? Let's go do something fun. And so, and when I tell you how cheap it is, Morgan, it didn't cost us anything. It cost us nothing. And we had t-shirts that say Shindig, which are very cute and fun and funky. And even the name kind of blew me away. I was like, what does this have to do with Child Protect? What even does this mean? But it worked. And so it's still going on and going strong. I mean, people look forward to it.
And I just wanted to confirm, because I love community events like that, and I especially love free things. So you said it was a free event. You ask for donations at the door or at the gate. You have different food trucks set up and vendors, which pay a fee to be there.
$35. That's probably the cheapest, event they ever attend.
Oh, right. And then you have bands and everything. So it's just a basically like a community event, but it builds awareness for your organization. So you have like a speaker or like a little moment where someone talks or anything like that?
Yes. And so there was, I got to go on stage for 30 seconds because I do talk a lot. So they were like, okay, you got 30 seconds. You can go up. You can thank everybody for coming. You can just say, shout out to Child Protect. This is what we do, and this is great. I think one of the biggest benefits is how it has grown every year. And people then will ask their friends who are on the board, hey, this is what y'all do as a junior board. I'd like to be part of this because it's fun. I'll tell you the other thing that we did too, is the big event for Child Protect, the signature event, if you will, is we started doing Barrel of Blues, which is a bourbon tasting, which had never been done before. I think this year was the 10th year that we did that. And it was a bourbon tasting, very nice. We did it on Thursday night. We had professional bourbon masters, I think they're called bourbon masters, come in. And it was catered, and, we had big sponsors, and the tickets were $100 a person. And so what we did is anybody that was under 45, the ticket was $50. So, when you think about that, before it's like, well, we're here to make money. You're right. However, you're also here that you want young professionals to come in. So when you add in, for me and my husband, $100, we're supporting an event. We're getting a tax deduction for a little bit of that. We're getting dinner, we're getting taste bourbon, all of that. Well, when you look at a young professional, they're having to pay a babysitter. And they're having to look at, okay, it's going to be $100 for both of us to go. But we are getting dinner. So, they can count, discount that. They're going out with their friends. So it's kind of that. But you have to think about where they are in their lives. And maybe for me, I know that, I told you my sons are 37 and 34, and I know where they are, and I understand that being able to go out with friends, to an event and it being at a discount. And then they were asked, we didn't require it, but they were asked to sell 10 tickets. And so it was easy when they were asked to say, okay, bring 10 of your friends or 5 couples, and they were all in, and they have the most fun. I mean, they're always the last to leave, and always, always the first there to help set up and do anything they can. And so I think it's just a mind shift of, how are we going to bring them in and how are we going to keep them there? One of the things, I went to a United Way conference back in the spring, and one group in, I think they were either in Illinois or Indiana, and what they started at their United Way, which sounded so amazing to me, is they started this 365 Club, not to be confused with the 700 Club, but it was the 365 Club. So and it was from college graduation, so 22-ish, up to 45. And it was $365 a year to join, $1 a day, which very doable for young pretty much anybody. I mean, that's $1 a day, $365 there. You didn't have to pay it all at once. They paid in, they got information via social media and emails and everything about places where they could go and volunteer. They were always updated on the needs of a different organization, or if another organization was having a special event that needed a golf team or needed volunteers. And then once a year, I'm not sure when it was, I feel like it was in the fall, maybe in between the fiscal year, or, around October, September, they just had a big networking party that the United Way put on. And it was just a party. It was after hours. It was free. They had the people that were members of the 365. That was a chance for them to re-up their membership. And then they would bring their friends. And so here you have, 100, say, young people in the same room, and they're able then to network their own business. So it kind of shifted to not just pulling young professionals in to help the nonprofit world, but it also helped them network. And they're fun events. It's not you go, you eat, you listen to a boring speaker, and then you leave. You're actually doing something. So they found that to be very, very beneficial. So it was an easy thing. The other thing, and I've got it drawn on my board over here since I started, is that what I have found, if you have a triangle, is that we have not, in the nonprofit world, we have not continued to make sure our base is strong. So if the pyramid, if we had all of these people 50 years ago that were the base, that structured, that, were the $100 or the $200 donors, which is the most of the people, that we've gone away from that. And what I have found, and I've been guilty of this, is that we've looked higher to say, okay, well, we need a 5,000, and don't get me wrong, we need those. But imagine, I was just doing some math now at an event we're having, and I'm thinking, okay, what if instead I get one $10,000 sponsorship? What if I ask 100 people to give $1,000 for the event? Well, I have 100 people now that are going to have their name on a board listed as a sponsor, and I'm going to make $100,000. Isn't that right? In the math, right? 100 times, 1,000 times 100,000. Okay. So I'm thinking that is a stronger base, because then you have 100 people that you can go after in the next year. And these may already be supporters of United Way, or they may be just friends of mine that I say, hey, listen, I'd really like for you to sponsor this event. And little side note, what the event is we are celebrating our 100 years of service in the community. And we are having a party like it's 1923 gala in December. And it's going to be 1923 attire is encouraged. So it's going to be, we're going to have it set up like a speakeasy. And so, I want to get more people there, and I'm trying to think of, all right, what's the best way? And I think that, going after $1,000 donor, because these are going to be more established people that have been, had a history with the United Way. But for the young professionals, our regular tickets are $100. They're going to be able to purchase them for $50 because it's important that they're there. Once again, they're going to have to buy their outfit, which on Amazon, you can get a 1923 outfit for $30 or $40. Just saying, they got some really cute ones, but they're going to have to get a babysitter too, and they're going to have to do all of that. So always keeping that in mind. So very good questions. Any other? And so, I think we've talked about their financial resources, which is very important, in that, at Child Protect, as we move through the years, we guesstimated that it cost $125 for a forensic interview. So as we continue to grow our Young Professionals Board, we challenged them to support one child that came in. And that was, that financial obligation was not a lot. I mean, $125 is what they started with. We talked about the coordination, making sure that there are regular meetings, that they feel like that what they're doing is for a purpose. This age group wants to feel like that their time is spent on something that is worthy of their time. And like I said before, they don't want to just go and sit and listen to a speaker. They want to be engaged. They want to know that what they're doing is going to make a difference at the end of the year, whether they're in the person or whether they are donating their money. And I will tell y'all, some of the ideas like the Shindig, Morgan, that we were just talking about, in my mind, like I said, it was totally different. Sunday afternoon, we're finishing the weekend. What are you talking about? It's the weekend's not over. I'm thinking, well, it is for me. But listening to some things that they want to do, and they come up with great ideas, and just let them. I mean, they have great, just getting them in. We didn't have anybody doing social media, and one of the junior board members said, "Oh, I would love to take that on. Just send me the content and I'll set up the Facebook page and I'll do all that." And they loved it. They were already on the Facebook a lot and Instagram a lot anyway. And so that really helped us get out in the social media. And so I didn't realize how important that was either. Let's see, and a plan of action. I told you that, our board sat down and they developed their own bylaws as to what the financial commitment was going to be, what the engagement or the present, being there, what that was going to look like too. What about term limits? What about the number of people that you want? To me, that depends on maybe the size of your organization. Do you want it to match the number of people you have on your executive board? Do you want more? Because, younger people do have a lot more energy. Maybe you do want it to be bigger so that you're involving more. And they take care of kicking off people that are not engaged. And you don't have to even worry about that because they are the first to say, sorry, you're not on the board anymore. Another thing that we saw happen probably about year 3 is this happened, like I said, didn't happen the first couple of years, but year 3 in August, we would have an open house. So if you were interested in serving, you would be required to come to the open house. You had to come. And that was when you could tour Child Protect, learn about the mission, and fill out an application to be on the junior board. It became very kind of like one of those things. If it's a membership and it's hard to get in, people want to get in more. And so they would go through and a lot of people, there was not room. And so they would say, I'm sorry, you didn't get on this year. You'll have to wait till next year. We'll review your application. So, they did all that. Let's see, I was hitting on some points. So the plan of action, and then training. Once again, we had young people that were on our staff that were familiar with what we did and how important. Now, at United Way, it's a little bit different because, and I don't know what nonprofits y'all are all involved in, but United Way doesn't do direct services. So we had to kind of think another level of how were we going to get them really passionate about United Way's mission, because coming to our office, you're not going to see clients. And that's why the two, Zach Beasley and Aaliyah, who said, you know what, we're going to have them meet at the different agencies. And that has just been a game changer because they all are like, we had no idea. We had no idea that any of these agencies were out there and the needs that are so great. And we're taking this back to our office now because last year we started it, but at Christmas, that's what they did. That, they went back and they said, well, our business is going to adopt this organization this year. And they found out what the needs were. And then they went, and it's just, it's kind of like the rock that goes in the river, and you have this one rock and how it has rippled now into the community. So the training, I think, it needs to be like your orientation that you would give your board members. One of the things that we're starting this year in October, as we kick off the new year, we are bringing in someone to do some board training for us. And we're having the staff, the executive board, and the junior board all together. And then we are asking the junior board president to sit on our executive board. And so I think that is also going to be a very important shift so that that person has an opportunity to learn and be able to take everything back. And also, which I always encourage, is to say, that's a really old way that y'all are doing this. Have you thought about this? And so giving them a voice and maybe having some mental mind shifts among the people that sit on the other board. So let's see. We've talked about how to appeal to the younger generation, how they can volunteer for different activities. You have to keep them engaged, no matter what it is. If you are, cleaning out your storage room or you want to organize your supply closet, just put it out there and say, hey, if y'all can come by this afternoon after work, we got pizza, we got beer and wine, come by, we're going to organize this. Would love to have y'all. I keep saying about happy hour and I don't mean that to be like, on a bad level, but it's a happy hour. And so you can have tea if you want to. I'm not saying you need to have beer and wine. But just get them to come by and say, or listen, we want to paint our conference room. It's old, it's dated, or we need some new design in here, and come in and help us with a canvas, or, whatever it is. Just think about, that they can come in and do that. And I think that one of the things that I wrote down is about efficient and updated technology. As I told you, we really didn't even do the Facebook. Our website was very dated, and they were able to help us kind of bring that up to date. And those are areas that we could not afford, and even really can't afford here, to hire someone just to be responsible for that. I mean, to have a full-time, I don't even know what you'd call them, an IT/media, whatever person. And so to get them to volunteer, once again, they have an engagement, and they can tell you if your stuff is outdated. They'll be able to tell you that we don't use, what was MySpace. Everybody remember MySpace. That's not used anymore, in case you were wondering. The fundraising activities is, they're very good at coordinating and implementing special events. And they really like that, because to them, it's an opportunity for a party. It's an opportunity to go out with their friends and their families. And they also get to be creative, because usually, maybe if they're working in an accounting firm, they may not have the opportunity to really plan these things, and they enjoy it. And it's fun. You get to meet new people that you're working with, and it's all your ideas. And so you get to implement that. And we talked about just networking with other nonprofits and with donors. They're able to meet people that they may want to go work for. They've been saying, I really like that company over there, but I didn't know how to get involved. I didn't know anybody, or I'm new to Montgomery and I just started this job and I don't know how to meet people. And this is, I heard about this shindig, and I guess I'll go over there on Sunday afternoon to see what it's all about. And you show up, and then, you're meeting these people, and it's all people, like I said, that are in your age group. Cultivating long-term relationships in the community. And it's not a one and done. It's something that has to continue to evolve, because one, when they age out of this junior board, you want to make sure that they have had the exposure, the experience, the nurturing, the opportunities to experience everything, so that when they graduate, you can say to another nonprofit, hey, listen, Mary Sue over here was great on our junior board, and she is ready for the big board. I think that you should really talk to her. And even in your own organization, say, you know what, you have spent 6 years on that junior board, and I've seen you in leadership positions. I've seen how, you have really gone into these nonprofits and made changes for the good. And we need that energy now as you move into your career and continue to grow. We need you here. And what we're finding in Montgomery, and I don't know, once again, where everybody is except Auburn. I know that you're in Auburn because I see Sanford Hall in the back. But, a lot of people retire and they're moving out of Montgomery. And so we have that challenge here, as well as how do you keep young people? And this is not just on young professional boards, but it is a challenge with businesses, with the chamber, with the city, to keep young professionals in our community. And I think that community service is such a big component of that. And lastly, one of the last point that I've touched on is just raising your organization's awareness through events and then through social media. As we all know, a couple of years ago, when TikTok became really big, every junior board member at Child Protect did a TikTok, and they wrote a little song about Child Protect, and it was crazy. I mean, it was I can't tell. I guess it just is so different than, you know, what I was used to, but it just, you know, give them this opened blank slate and it will be filled by the end of the day. They just have, like I said, just great ideas, and it's very important. And that is, like I said, I know I talk really fast, and I'm going to get all of this to send to y'all with the bylaws, but it sounds easy, and it is if you have the right people and you are willing to change. You know, as old people, one day we're not going to be here, and we have to look at those that are coming after us, and we've got to get our organization set up for that. And I'm afraid to say that most are not, that they keep doing this and it's not changing. So anyway, any questions or comments or?
I think that everything that you said so far has been what we're trying to accomplish. I'm in Jasper, Alabama at the Walker Area Community Foundation. Pauletta Wyndham is also here with me. So are there any, I know you may have touched on it, but are there any giving requirements? Could you talk about that a little bit more? And when you guys do that, we're a grant giving organization. So we've been considering doing something similar to that and then having some type of grant cycle. So have you seen anything like that, or is that something that you guys do there?
Well, no, but it kind of the same with United Way, is that, you know, we do campaigns that bring funds in, and then we send them out. And so you know, right now we're just asking the junior board to pick an organization and donate and then support our events. However, that you said that, you know, I think it would be a great idea. And once again, if you started, you could even start with the 365 idea and say, okay, we are going to open at the community foundation, we are going to open an account, and it's going to be called the 365 account. And that all that money goes in there, and then your junior board at the end of that year, because you may have 100 people give or 50 people give in the first year, but your junior board may only be the 10 people. And you bring them in and you say, okay, you know how the community foundation works is, you know, we're earning interest off of this. So first year we have $1,200 to give. So you let them then make the decision. You know, let them have the assignments to go out and meet with nonprofits, and maybe it's an upstart. Maybe they've met somebody and they say, look, you know, this lady over on, you know, in this area has a food truck, and she is on Friday, or Saturday morning, she goes into this neighborhood and gives breakfast to the kids. So you may say, with this $1,200, that would make a huge impact to her Saturday morning breakfast. Or is it a scholarship? You know, is it someone in the school system that, you know, you've read about, or maybe they know about, or they talk to the school and say, look, you know, we've got this, and we want to give it to a deserving student who meets this criteria, you know, and they write the criteria for that, or, you know, they write the plan for their fund, you know, how it's going to be spent. Is it going to be a different one every year, or is it going to be designated for one particular area every year? But I think that y'all have such a great opportunity. And, you know, I know Walker County is not one of the counties in our state that has a lot of resources. And maybe, you know, you don't even do 365, maybe you just say $100 in the first year. But I think that having their own fund that they have control of, and then they say, okay, well, we've got this money, but let's do a special event. You know, let's raise money for this fund in the first year. So what does that look like? Let me just say, these fundraisers they come up with are outstanding. One of the things they're talking about at United Way, this is going to sound nuts to y'all, maybe not. They want to do a grocery buggy race down Dexter Avenue. So you have maybe a person in the buggy, one person pushing it, and they're going to race. and getting grocery stores to sponsor and then provide the buggies, decorating so they have a, and then they're saying, okay, to enter, it's going to be $50 to enter your buggy and you decorate. I know that sounds nuts, but hey, a fun run, you can do a fun run that involves families. Runs are very inexpensive to do and very easy. And a lot of people love to do that. It's amazing. And maybe you just do like we did with Shindig, just say, hey, this is for our young professionals, and you can think of a really cool name. Community Foundation, maybe you could come up with some, is it the WCCA community?
Are you talking about us?
Yes.
WACF. Walker Area Community Foundation.
So maybe they could come up with a junior board with that same acronym. And, so they're that board, but this is the name of it. And this is what we're going to do. And, sky's the limit. It really is. They love competitions. They love, like in bicycle or stroller, maybe a stroller walk.
I think that would be really interesting. I've seen things. I think there's something in New Orleans where they have like the red dress run or something like that. And, I think it's just like a whole bunch of people just wearing red dresses and they're just like running down the street. So it's funny, but it still does raise awareness and money for organizations. So I think as long as there's music, food, possibly alcoholic beverages, I think young people are going to come running.
Well, they are.
I'm in that category.
Yeah, okay. I figured you were, but but the other thing is, tell you one of the things that had in Montgomery that has not been tapped into is Halloween and Mardi Gras. And so, I've said for years, do a Halloween party and have people dress up with their kids. I mean, do it, not on Halloween night, or do it on Halloween night. I mean, so many people now don't take their kids trick or treating and they do that trunk or treat, but, do an event that is around Halloween and have the kids dress up and have a winner of that. One of the civic groups here in Montgomery, the Lions Club, they do a chili cook-off around Halloween. And they do that. Now, not everybody dresses up, but they do a chili cook-off that's really fun. And they sell tickets, like it's $10, and then you can taste all the chili. And then the kids come and they give little trophies for the kids and best dressed or whatever. That's a holiday to me that could be turned fun, and it could be either adult or family oriented. And I think Mardi Gras also is one. You get a jazz band, people dress up once again, and it's fun. And I like themed stuff myself, so I'm all about doing something that's around a theme. You could do a fun hop for around Easter. I mean, you can think of every month a holiday. St. Patrick's Day, that's fun. Everybody can dress up like a leprechaun. So maybe I miss my calling. I really, really want to just do fundraising and special events. That's kind of how I got started at Red Cross. That was my first introduction to nonprofit world, and I just loved it because there's so many things. At Red Cross, we started a tailgate event that was held right before football season kicked off, and we did it at Baumhauer's Wings. I mean, that was long, long, long ago, but it was a great event. But nobody ever thinks about doing that. I mean, everybody loves their football if you're from the state of Alabama, no matter who you cheer for. And that's fun to involve kids with. Back to school nights, those are always kind of fun too.
Is anybody else going through a young professional board right now, or has your organization started that, you have things that you could share for the collective of some people who may not have, created theirs yet?
I think the biggest pushback that we've heard after we've talked about it and everything is they say we just don't have time. We don't have anybody to oversee it. And I get that. I get that. However, it's kind of a lame excuse. And even if you don't have anybody that's actually on your staff, that's young and could oversee it, but Morgan, you're young and you can oversee it, is, once you get the right people in the room and you tell them, like, we want you to be founders of this very, very important piece of our organization, that this is not just for us to do something, that this is part of our agency staying purposeful. I've kind of started getting away from the word relevant because I think we're all pretty relevant in our world, but are we purposeful? Are we continuing to do what our mission is? Are we just like stagnant? I would say, yes, we are kind of stagnant, but I think that we use excuses for not doing things, and it's uncomfortable. I mean, because it's a big change, but once you get it up and running, and they continue to grow, and there'll be people who are not interested and drop out. I mean, that's typical of everything, as we know as well.
Hey, Morgan, I would love to reach out and set up a meeting with you. I'm a member of the Auburn Young Professionals. Here in Auburn, it's through the chamber, but I can give you some ideas of things that we've done in the past, things we do to recruit, things I think you can easily integrate into Walker area.
I'm not sure how similar it may be with the Birmingham Young Professionals, but it could be. When I was there, though, the difference being was that it was more social. Now, there's nothing wrong with the social group, but there was it was just show up and talk to people and then leave. It wasn't just like, we weren't meeting with organizations, we weren't raising money, we weren't having events. So I felt like it was cool and all to meet people, but I didn't feel like I was doing anything. So I feel like the Auburn one may be a little bit more interactive than that. So yes, I would love to follow up about that.
Yeah, they have 3 different divisions, but I've also been on a young professional board for a local nonprofit, so I can tell you a little bit both. And I think if you meld the two, I think you'll get just right.
Yes, thank you, Brittany.
Absolutely. Does anybody else have any other questions? All right. Well, thank you, Jannah, for a wonderful program. Everyone, you will be getting an email from me with a link to today's presentation, the resources from Jannah, a short survey, and an opportunity to sign up to be a Carey Center nonprofit affiliate. The Carey Center nonprofit affiliate program currently serves over 275 nonprofits in Alabama and beyond, and offers educational programming, professional development, and networking opportunities to nonprofit professionals. The Carey Center nonprofit affiliates are the first to learn about upcoming programming, and membership is free. We are excited to announce that we are now offering the Carey Center Nonprofit Professional Certificate. This is an online non-degree certificate and is offered through a partnership with the Auburn University Office of Professional Education and Merit Nonprofit Professional Development, and provides a tailored curriculum for nonprofit professionals. Merit is an anytime, anywhere micro-learning platform that builds 6 core nonprofit proficiency areas, which include leading, learning, resource generating, planning, managing, and overseeing through 28 learning paths. The Carey Center Nonprofit Certificate is for the entire nonprofit staff team, and because this platform is designed to increase and enhance the total performance of your nonprofit, we encourage every nonprofit staff member to use it. Thank you again for joining us today. We hope to see you at one of our monthly virtual programs or in person for our nonprofit training series currently traveling the state. Thank you all so much.
Thank y'all. Have a good day.